Hey everybody, this is Kristen from Scooterbug Corner. I am still doing my marathon filming. I'm not sure what order that these journals will go up on my YouTube channel, but ironically enough, the other mass of the journals that I have ready to go and filmed are spring/Easter themed, and this one is actually a winter themed. I have had this made and just didn't get around to filming and taking pictures and all of that kind of stuff. So while some part of the United States is starting to kind of warm up, there is still parts of the United States having snow. So, you know, that's where we are. So this one is quite full and fluffy. And like I said, it's been a minute since I've made this. So it's going to be kind of like exploring this together. This isn't as fresh in my head. But starting off, the cover is a it is a glitter, but it's a no shed glitter fabric. The spine is a velvet fabric. The seam binding ribbon you can see is stitched on there, and two signatures. Sorry for the shaking, the poor lighting. You know, the thing about the lighting for today is at least that's on theme with a wintry looking day because it's kind of gray outside. Anyway, vintage lace with this snowflake trim. Oh, and now my kitty is trying to play with the tie there. I apologize. Okay, so interior has this sparkly fabric. There's going to be a lot going on in this journal, I can tell you that. So it's got stamping, it's got mixed media, it's got inking, it's got stitching, it's got trims, it's got the bling, it's got printables, it's got vintage, it's got all the things. So it's got sequins, it's got shakers, it's got all the bells and whistles. I do dye the papers myself, just as an aside. All my washi, if you're watching this for the first time, is always also glued down. Vintage envelope here, and this is a guest check. This guest check I think is too wide to also fit an envelope. No, it's not. So that fits there. I think there is actually a piece of vintage paper. I bought this cluster of envelopes and they're all stamped, and maybe this is why this person was doing it, I don't know, but all of them have literally blank paper in them, vintage. So there's that. So yeah, there is a cluster of self-addressed possibly envelopes, and I found them at a yard sale, but anywho, they're cool. They've got, you know, this is dated 1955. So there you go. Yeah. Vintage paper here. This is from a crochet pattern. I think this is a vintage bingo card. If it's not vintage, it is at least like kind of like rescued junk. So over here, we've got that little pick in there. This little die cut, that's obviously a reproduction. This tag, this is vintage paper. So I try to kind of pick things that were all in like the same color scheme, the blues and the grays. Made that paper clip. Paper has just like cool corner punching, vintage dictionary, still lots of blank space to do your thing. And then every now and then I've added my decorative elements again. These are stitched in, all kinds of just little things, little tuck spots, little awesomenesses, should I say. Embossed paper, painting. Like I said, there's a lot going on in this journal, and I love how it turned out. So I hope you do too. I tried to pick, if it wasn't, you know, just because of color, this is obviously called the Mitten Song page book. There is a authentic vintage milk cap. This was obviously chosen more for this page probably than the bright yellow. Right here is one of my tabs that I make. And it says snow. This is the center. This is a vintage flashcard that says gloves, a hidden paper clip. You can add your own things there. A little trio of snowmen. I obviously just drew that and cut it out and backed it on there to kind of just give it a, you know, something kind of cool, something kind of different. Tag. So again, lots of things happening that are my touch, but much places too. Many places. That was a weird way to say that. Embossed paper, Snowflake. I dyed this vintage doily, the vintage flashcard, printable. Pardon me. What I was saying is there's still a whole lot of space to make it your own. So it's not just already fully decorated. Lots of decoration, but lots of space for you to still do you. Vintage, 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 lots of vintage. Embossed, mixed media, some printables obviously, but just some things. Here's one of my, I make like these collages and do all the things with, and then on the back, again, it's still collaged, but it is a list pad, I guess we'll call it. This little here, little cup of cocoa with this darling little lady in there. Some vintage buttons. These are just all paper clipped in. This is an envelope and a tag and a printable. And then on this side are some more printables. Over here, this is a belly band, mixed media. Over here, that just is tucked in. You can tuck it in there, however you want to tuck it in. Dyed doily. Scooch that down just a smidge. Vintage paper. Here's this like cluster of papers and different things, and it's like a pocket. And this is just a plain tag for you to do whatever, a printable, and it's on embossed paper. So the clip that you're seeing here is a binder clip. These are my charmed binder clips, and this is a authentic vintage. Let me get the other side. Looking a little fumbly here. Picture. So there's a doggy there, and they're in the snow. And you know, if I were to guess, maybe, oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I'm not super good about photography, and when you know, we quit getting fancy borders and all that stuff. But anyway, you can tell that's a very old, authentic photograph. So this is from a magazine, and another. Now this one obviously is an old postcard of this cute little chubby baby, smiling big, all dressed for winter, and it is in this window envelope turned into pocket. You can see there's a lot going on there too. And obviously, as I was doing some of this, it transferred over here. But hey, that's it's a junk journal, right? There's always going to be happy mistakes, as Bob Ross says, and a little bit of whimsy. This is from a vintage quilt that has been cut out. Little fit places here. This is a journal card. They're hiking. I don't think it's supposed to be winter, but it kind of just made me think of, you know, the colors and all those kind of things. It kind of vibed with this journal. This tiny little pocket over here with this tiny little tag. How come it's always the tiny things that don't want to cooperate? Okay. Just some elements. There's been punch here, vintage scorecard, and this is from the vintage little reader, The First Big Snow. So everybody's getting together, sitting in front of the fireplace, and then the kids are outside playing in the snow. So you can add that somewhere if you desire. Here's the center. I added, I need to add another charm, don't I? This is what happens when you have, like, squirrel. Okay, so anyway, it says let it snow at the top. Made this full pocket, that's what it's called. This is kind of a silvery metallic envelope, which you can add wherever you desire. So here is a little tuck. That's a little snowflake from like quilted material that would fold out into just a piece of paper, but it's been folded like a little envelope, printable. A little cluster, little library pocket card. I think I actually got this from another vintage or Etsy seller that came in kind of like a clustery thing that I got, but I added some things and inked it. So this is, it's iridescent glitter paint on a paint chip thing, whatever you call them, and initially I thought it would make a cool pocket, but I just kind of tucked it in there so that you can do you with it, whatever you want to do. So here's some extra elements that are cool for collaging or turning into pockets, whatever. Apologize if you can now hear something very loud. Somebody in my household has decided they need to listen to the TV on absolute blast volume. I'm going to predict it's my husband, who apparently can't hear anything. So some more elements over here. So this one is a long one. It's a big journal, lots of pages, lots of fun. Super love how this turned out. So hope you do too. Lots of just extras. And another another vintage photo, and this one doesn't necessarily have anything to do specifically with winter, but I put this in here because, like, I don't know, this feels kind of like a little fancy, you know, addition, like if you were going to like a fancy tea party and these ladies are clearly dressed up and either at a lunch or a brunch or something, you know, probably like maybe church or, you know, whatever, but clearly she is having the time of her life, and her friend beside her is joining her in that joy. And this just made me think of like winter. Like, is it over yet? If you are someone that enjoys the cold for long periods of time, then, you know, bless you. But this lady and I share the same sentiment on winter. Like, is it over yet? So anyway, there is this big beauty, and I love her, and she is so full of glorious vintage and handmade and mixed made. There is a lot of time into this journal. And then, you know, if you're not a journal maker, you may not understand how long it takes, but I mean, I've dyed papers, I've dyed trims and doilies, then the mixed media, and then the stitching, and the collecting of all of these items. It takes a long time. But anyway, until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for stopping by.